The new story, the choice of life and death. Stunned to the core, I looked at him, and it slowly dawned on me what he had said. Are you sure? I mean, is there even the slightest chance of a mistake? I am truly sorry. I wish things were different, but I am absolutely certain. My journey home was simply terrible. How would you feel if a doctor told you that your life was over? How to tell your wife, how to explain to the children, and why now? The Lord looked at me and said, "You've had a good life, George. Everything in it was fine, and now it's time to throw a spanner in the works." 1 minute, a wonderful life, the next the end, everything was over. It's not fair. It's just not fair. My life was like a fairy tale. I was the golden boy, an excellent student from my first school years through college. A superb athlete, I mastered several sports. I was the quarterback in the school team when we managed to rise to the regional level. I'd made the game for almost the entire team and pulled off a caper against Jefferson, our town rival, the only time our school managed to beat them. I had 17 college offers for further education. I chose state. The football coach on the first training day looked at me and said, "You might have been a quarterback in high school, but I see you as a receiver." I thought he was mad, but in the first years of college, I led in catches, yards gained, and touchdowns. I achieved everything I wanted and graduated college with a 4.0 GPA. I received my first draft offer, but decided I had enough of football and went to work at XYZ Corporation, where I managed to become the vice president of marketing within 6 years. However, the most remarkable event was meeting Dorothy. We first met in the 6th grade when the boys and girls physical education classes were combined to teach us how to dance. Dorothy was my partner, and from that moment, our relationship began, culminating in our wedding 2 years after graduating from college. I was smitten from the first moment I took Dorothy by the hands in the gym, so much so that I was constantly teased by classmates and friends for the next year. George has fallen for Dorothy, and bride and groom were phrases I probably heard every day. Unfortunately, Dorothy didn't feel the same way. She liked me, but she also liked many other guys. When her parents allowed her to date, I was just one of many. Things changed a bit when I got into sports. As I became a more successful athlete, I became more popular. In school, there's always a group of girls who like athletes and enjoy being seen with them. When these girls began to show interest in me, Dorothy did the same. In college, I learned from one of her friends that Dorothy thought I was the one for her. But when other girls started paying attention to me, Dorothy decided it was better to secure her position before someone else could snatch me away and make me forget about her. We started dating regularly and were a couple for almost the entirety of high school. I say almost because, like all teenagers, we would occasionally fight and break up only to get back together a week or two later. The biggest problem was sex, or rather the lack of it. Every guy in my class bragged that he was already a man. If they were all to be believed, I was the only virgin in our class. I kept hearing things like, "Last night I was with Becky in the parking lot and we had sex." All I could get from Dorothy was a few deep kisses. When I tried to put my hand on her breast, she slapped me and said, "If you need sex, call Sally Murphy." And after that didn't speak to me for a week. The third time it happened, I called Sally, but it only made things worse. First of all, if Sally was a jerk, she took the nights off when she was with me. And secondly, Dorothy didn't talk to me for a month after she found out that I had been on a date with Sally. When we finally did get to talk, we ended up breaking up for good. How could you do that to me? It was your idea. You told me to call Sally. But that's not what I meant. All I know is I'm sick of being the only virgin in high school. Okay, George, I'm sorry, but I really value my chastity. I will not have recreational sex just to please someone who thinks virginity is a crime. I promised my mother that I would be a virgin on my wedding night, and I am determined to do so. Okay, then I guess we're broken up. What? Why would you say that? You said you're not getting married until you're out of college, which isn't for another 5 years. I'm not that attached to my virginity, so I sure as hell ain't gonna wait another 5 years to get rid of it. Then I guess there's nothing more to talk about. And she got up and left. I thought, well, fine, if that's what you want, so be it. A month later, the prom was at school, and I invited Nancy Bickford. Dorothy went to the prom with Sammy Vine, and although I tried to ignore them both, every time I looked in their direction, I saw Dorothy looking at me. After the ball, I asked Nancy where she wanted to go, and she said, "Some motel. I hope you were planning on having sex with me tonight. Who's gonna argue?" Nancy laughed till she cried when she found out I was still a virgin. "You'll be my first, so we're gonna do it my way." What does that mean? It means I'm gonna teach you how to do it my way. What does it usually look like? I'm told what to do, but most of all, Nancy wanted to be licked. She especially liked it when I licked her after I had sex with her. I was a virgin and didn't know anything about it, so when she told me that boys always lick their seed after making love, I believed it and did IT. IT was good and bad. Good, because she told all the girls what I did and I became very popular. Bad, because one of the girls who heard it was Dorothy. Nancy and I dated for about a month, and then she started dating a guy from college and dumped me. Nancy had barely disappeared from view when Sarah asked me to go with her to some family event, and that same night, I ended up face to face between her legs. She immediately told everyone that Nancy hadn't lied, and a week later, Sammy Bain started boasting that he had uncovered Dorothy. After Sarah, there were Betsy, Barb, and Cindy, and I heard that John, Bill, and Mike had dated Dorothy. It seemed like she was showing me that she would do this every time I did. One day, not long before graduation, I was sitting in a booth in a soda shop when Dorothy slid into the seat opposite me. "How have you been?" "Good. You don't call me anymore." "There's nothing to say." "George, don't be like that. Don't feed me lines. You lied to me, then stood up and walked away from me the last time we talked." "I didn't lie. I have never lied to you." "Seriously, how about, I will be a virgin on my wedding night and I won't get married until I finish college." "How about, I won't have sex with someone who thinks virginity is a disgrace." Now you're telling me that wasn't a lie. You're not married, but you're definitely no longer a virgin, and you haven't even started college yet, let alone finished it. Are you telling me that Sammy, John, Bill, and Mike were not just casual sex? And I noticed that you had no problem giving Sammy what you never even considered giving me. Like I said, there's no reason for me to call you because there's nothing for us to say to each other. The summer between finishing high school and starting college was very hectic for me. I worked 2 part-time jobs, trying to pay off my car and have some spending money for when I started school. I still managed to go on dates 2 or 3 times a week. Most of my dates were with girls who wanted to see for themselves if what Nancy, Sarah, and a few other girls had said was true. I didn't see Dorothy at all that summer, but I heard she had quite a few guys. In the fall, I started college, and life became a bit more complicated. I still had a part-time job. I was taking 16 credit hours at college, plus I continued to play football. Enough girls from my old high school attended state, so I still had some sort of sex life. But with work, academic load, and football practice, 1 evening a week and 1 day on weekends was the best I could manage. It was little, but still a lot more than some other guys got. Although Dorothy was supposed to attend state, I didn't see her or hear anything about her or what she was doing. I was curious, but I wasn't going to ask. The last thing I wanted was for someone to tell that I saw George yesterday and he was asking about you. As it turned out, I didn't need to worry. Family issues prevented her from starting the fall semester. When she started in the spring semester, and I only saw her once or twice, then one day after class, I found her in the hallway waiting for me. "Can we talk?" "About what?" "About us. There is no us anymore. Not since the day you said we had nothing more to talk about. And nội dung này có thể vi phạm chính sách sử dụng của chúng tôi. Chúng tôi có hiểu sai không? Vui lòng cho chúng tôi biết bằng cách chọn ngón tay hướng xuống đối với phản hồi này. 40. Mapsep chat, then you got up and left. And as far as I remember, what we were talking about was the virginity you were planning to keep for the next 5 years. The same innocence that you gave to Sammy Bain in less than 3 months. I did that to hurt you, George, not because I particularly liked Sammy. It hurt terribly when you didn't invite me to the prom, and it killed me to find out that you were with Nancy and what you two were doing. It killed me, George. You were supposed to be mine. But I bit my lip and survived because I expected you to come back to me after you got rid of your issues and were done with Nancy. Then you moved on from her to Sarah, and I freaked out and said, okay, I'll show him, and went on a date with Sammy. After that, every time you dated a new girl, I dated a new guy just to get back at you. So what was the point of all this, Dot? Can we just stop throwing stones at each other, Georgie? Can't we try to be together again? I really didn't know what to answer. I missed her. I still thought about her almost all the time. She was still the most beautiful girl I'd ever been with, but still. Damn, I didn't know. She waited for me to answer, and when I remained silent, she said, why can't you answer me, Georgie? Is it because of the sex? Is it because Sammy got it and you didn't? Well, let me tell you that you dear only one. You lost your innocence to one of the most accomplished girls in school, and rumor has it you had a very good time. Things were different for me, as they were for Sammy, for that matter. I was in terrible pain, and I punched him in the chest so hard trying to make him stop that he was bruised for a week. I also got blood on the seat of his dad's car, and he got a hell of a beating for it. And then add to that the fact that I really didn't like it. Then why did you keep doing it? To see if I could make you angry, you kept having sex with Sammy, John, Bill, and Mike, even though you didn't like it? No, I just didn't like Sammy. The rest of them were pretty cool. You like sex that much? It was pretty good with Mike. It was okay with John and Bill and some of the others, but Sammy sucked. It was 1-2. I'll call you tomorrow. So, what do you think is going on with us? I have an off-campus apartment, and I want you to move in with me. Where'd you get the money for an apartment? My grandmother passed away and left me a lot of money. That's why I didn't start the spring semester. I had a family business to take care of. Do you want to live with me? Yes, and if you say yes, I will do everything possible to make up for lost time and have sex with you until you're half dead. And she did just that, trying her hardest to keep it up for the last 14 years. She completely spoiled me. She pampered me, served me in any way. My wishes were her command and all that. Our sex life was incredible. Even after living together for 4 years and then being married 14 years ago, we continued to make love 5 or 6 times a week. Having 4 children in the house didn't stop us. Life was beautiful, but now this. I couldn't face it when I got home. One look at my face, and she would have known something was wrong. To avoid that, I told her I had problems at work and needed to do some work at home until the next morning. Then I went into the room, closed the door, sat at the desk, and stared at the wall. After an hour or two of trying to make sense of what the doctor had told me and feeling sorry for myself, I finally broke out of the loop. I was not a coward, had never been one, and was not about to become one. I pulled out the yellow pages and started looking for doctors. I made a list of half a dozen or so and put it in my briefcase. I wanted a second, third, fourth, and maybe even a 12th opinion. One opinion was definitely not enough for me. The list was made. It was time to decide what to do next. I came out of the room and went to find out. If the doctor was right, I wouldn't have many chances left. She was in the kitchen washing dishes, and I grabbed her hand and said, "Woman, I have needs," and dragged her to the bedroom, where we had sex until exhaustion. 2 weeks later, the jury was assembled. 5 different doctors told me the same thing. It was no longer possible to deny it. I couldn't hide from it or run away. The only thing left to do was to face it head on, sit down with Dorothy, and tell her. This was the hardest part of the plan. We were good together. We fit each other perfectly, like a hand in a glove. Everyone said we were the perfect couple. Everyone said they wished to be like us. I took a day off to talk to Dot while the kids were at school. I didn't want us to be interrupted. It's pretty hard not to get distracted when Alice walks into the room saying, "Mommy?" Josh hit me, or maybe Mary saying, "Mommy, can you help me dress my doll?" Or Kevin wanting me to show him how to lace up his baseball glove. I couldn't find the words. I sat there looking at the woman who made my soul sing and couldn't bring myself to say a word. "What is it, Georgie? What's all this about? Come on, George. What's so important that you had to stay home to talk to me?" It was hard, but I finally took a deep breath and said, 2 weeks ago, a doctor gave me some very bad news. I didn't believe it, so I went to another doctor for a second opinion. I didn't believe him either, but after 3 more doctors ran tests, I have to accept the facts. I can't deny it and believe it will go away because it won't. It's there, it's malignant, and it's killing me. My God, George, is it cancer? It's similar, but what I have is worse than cancer. Cancer eats away at the body. What I have is infinitely worse because it eats away at the soul. When I went for my annual medical exam, they found a shadow on my prostate. They ran a bunch of tests, and when they came back, the doctor, who knew about my athletic past, said it must be hard not having a son to follow in my footsteps. I asked him what he meant, and he told me that I am infertile. I couldn't believe it. How could I be infertile with 4 children in the house? I checked with 4 other doctors, and they all told me the same thing. Additionally, when I was getting the kids their flu shots, I had DNA tests done. According to the DNA tests, the children have 4 different fathers, and none of them is me. Do you have any comments, Dorothy? Yes, I do. Sociologists have determined that every 13th man raises someone else's child after analyzing anonymous DNA test results. Story 2, the photograph. I accidentally stumbled upon this photograph. My wife has been traveling frequently for work for the past 4 years, often leaving me alone for weeks at a time. I spent many lonely hours browsing adult websites where I found it. There was no need to see her face. Her vintage wedding service was quite unique. Her late mother's wedding ring on her finger only added proof. The necklace was her last Christmas gift for me. The mesh jacket was a birthday present for me. There was no condom visible. Sandra doesn't use contraceptives. We see each other only 10 days a month. We haven't had sex for 2 months. My anger was almost complete. Using my extensive computer skills, I found the same photograph on 3 different adult sites, with the original being on a dating site for finding friends. My life was over. I called her, but nobody answered either her mobile or on Skype. I called her hotel, but her room phone went unanswered. I began calling her colleagues who were supposed to be with her, but they all denied knowing her whereabouts. I sent her an email to follow up on my frantic voicemails, urging her to contact me. This was a family emergency, a matter of life and death. After 30 minutes without a response, I asked her hotel to send someone to her room. 10 minutes later, my mobile rang. Hey honey, what happened? Check your email. I pressed send and forwarded her the photograph. Oh my God, don't say another word. Pack your stuff and get on a plane today. Honey, I can't. If you're worried about losing your job, don't be. Just pack your things and come back here in a few hours. I can't. I'll send the photo to all your work contacts. What? The clause about morality in your employment contract. By 8 tomorrow morning, you won't have your precious job anymore. Get on the damn plane. I hung up the phone and started preparing for her arrival. At 8:05, I received a text message from her CEO. He informed me that my wife had been immediately fired and apologized that her behavior had discredited herself, our marriage, and the company. He explicitly stated she would never hold a similar position again. I couldn't help but laugh at this absurdity. At 8:15, I called her directly to voicemail. I saw that I had a message with the details of her flight. I ordered an Uber to pick her up and bring her home. 10 minutes to 11, she approached the front door. I wondered what her first thoughts were when the key didn't work. She rang the bell, and I waited a few minutes before opening the door. Please, honey, let me explain. Her gaze slid across the living room. All her things were neatly packed in boxes. Sit down, you damn scoundrel. Sandra sat silently, no tears, no signs of remorse. Well, what a witch. You can stay here for a short time to pack your things. You will not leave this room. You will not talk to me. No explanations are possible, so make a few phone calls and get out of my house. You must want to know why. I walked to the kitchen and poured myself another cup of coffee. Leave your rings on the side table. Since you brought it up, I wonder what your damned mother would think of you now. From the next room, there were sobbing sounds. I didn't care. I reloaded for the next shot. If there's a knock at the door, open it. It will be for you. Yes, that sound again. Definitely a thud. Finally, tears, although I'm sure she didn't shed them over our marriage. As if on cue, there was a knock at the door. Sandra opened it and saw her father. His eyes burned with righteous fire. I heard a slap from the other side of the house. From this minute, you have no family. Live on the street. That's how vermin like you survive, right? Dad, please, Your mother would die again if she heard about this. Thank God, she's already gone. As we speak, your sister is erasing you from our lives, and no one will lift a finger to help you." He turned and walked away. I know his heart was breaking into pieces. I heard Sandra slump back into the chair. Her uncontrollable sobbing was almost music to my ears. 20 minutes later, the phone rang again. I didn't even move to answer it. I heard her get up and drag herself to it. "Father Mike, I didn't. Sandra White, I am here to inform you that from this moment, you are banned from all parish activities, including confession. Based on everything I know, I will be meeting with the Archbishop to formalize your excommunication." No, Father Mike himself closed the door. I don't know how long she lay by the door. Honestly, I didn't care. Each thud was like a breath that burst into my lungs. Each scream was a jolt to my heart. After finishing my coffee, I approached the door and saw that Sandra was still lying there. I leaned down, picked her up, and led her to the sofa. I carefully laid her down and looked down at the woman I once loved. Now there was nothing there. No love, no hatred, just emptiness. "Sandra Nicole Dean White, your career is ruined. Your family has disowned you. Your church has abandoned you. Can you say that your life is now over?" She lay there, exhausted beyond measure. For a few minutes it seemed nothing in her moved. Then came a simple yes. Then it settled. "Sandra, now tell me, did you have sex with another man last night?" "Yes." "Did you have sex with other men while you were traveling?" "Yes." "Did you have sex with a man every night while you were traveling?" "Yes." "Did you ever use condoms?" "No." "How did you not get pregnant?" "I have a diaphragm." "Now answer me, Sandra. Why?" "Because I didn't have you." "Are you mocking me?" It took me some time to control my rage. I got up and walked around the house for about an hour before returning to the living room. "Before you, I had other lovers. The first time we made love, it was deep, strong, meaningful love. I had never experienced anything like it before. The months leading up to my promotion were the happiest in my life. Then I had to travel so much. It was killing me being away from you. I needed you, your touch, your love. I missed you so much that I started doing terrible things to fill the void, and then I couldn't stop." Complete nonsense. Why did you never tell me anything? We were trying to save up to have a child. We really needed my income. I couldn't step back until we had saved enough for me to stop working. So, you were lonely and selfish. Did you ever think about what I was doing while you were gone for 3 weeks every month? I tried not to think about how lonely you were. I tried to drown out my guilt with all that sex. Oh God, honey, there were so many men. Are you so sure that all of them were free of drugs and diseases? They all had medical certificates. Like this one. I extended a blank letter I had downloaded from a swingers site. All I needed to do was fill in my personal information. I wonder how many people are currently living with HIV who were deceived in this way. Sandra examined the form and once again couldn't hold back her tears. "Later today, I'm going to the clinic. If I show signs of a sexually transmitted disease, I will kill you. Do you understand? Please, God, honey, please kill me now. Please erase my soul from existence. Free me from this guilt and shame. Please kill me." "No, I won't dirty my hands with someone like you. However, there is another option." Sandra sat down and looked at me. I don't know if it was hope or despair. I reached behind my back, took her grandfather's revolver, and placed it in front of her on the coffee table. "I offer you a trustful exit. I won't kill you, but I will sit here and watch you kill yourself. Do you have the strength to end it now, Sandra? Do you really want an easy way out?" Sandra stared at the pistol. It seemed for hours. I saw determination on her face. She leaned forward, grabbed the weapon, and pressed it against her right temple. Tears flooded her eyes as she looked at me for what she knew must be the last time. "Please, try to forgive me. I have been so terrible to you. Find a way to live on without me. Please know that I am very sorry and I love you." Sandra closed her eyes and pulled the trigger. In the enclosed space, the gunshot sounded extraordinarily loud. Sandra slumped and the pistol slipped from her hand. I took my cell phone and dialed 911. "Hello, my wife just attempted suicide. Thank you for being with us and listening until the end. If you found it interesting, please subscribe, give us a like, and leave your comments, and we'll see you.